Well, it's time to plunge into the week of politics, and Dr. Maxine Newlands, who's the Senior Lecturer in Political Science at James Cook University, is taking us all around the world, from the very small to the very large, because we have a journey that incorporates everything from Townsville to Russia this morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Got your passport ready?
Got my passport ready. Here we go.
Right, we'll do that soon. But first, let's start in New South Wales, because some very damning findings coming out yesterday from their ICAC, their investigation into corruption in that state, which has been long-standing for a while, many years, in fact. But some very strong findings against a former MP, Daryl Maguire, and former Premier Gladys Berejiklian. The two were in a relationship at the time that wasn't disclosed.
Yeah, so, and of course the lack of disclosure then raises questions of were things done, was that done intentionally? Because then it would, well, there was two things. Was it done intentionally for benefit, but also it should have been disclosed because there was the Premier, as the head of New South Wales government, was officially, technically approving funding for the Wagga area of which Daryl Maguire was.
Yes.
So it's been quite a hard week for the former Premier, Gladys Berejiklian, and she has come out and sort of said that, maybe she should have done more. But effectively, it doesn't look... No, so the ICAC doesn't have any legal powers. It's not like it can't then say you are now charged with, misinterpretation or misinformation or something.
They just make recommendations.
That's all
but
can
they
do.
have done that for maybe Daryl Maguire, but not for Gladys Berejiklian.
But it's not really in their hands, so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, she has been very much painted as a victim of a relationship, of quite a, intense relationship. There's this whole thing around a Valentine's Day text that she didn't want to become public because it probably seemed to undermine her. But ultimately, I think it will have an impact on future ICACs and people having to declare their relationships. And then, of course, my relationship is private to me and yours. So where is that line between public and private? And of course, when it comes down to, the tax is paying for your wages, it's always very, very blurry.
Yeah, and a lot of that, the transcripts are getting very personal indeed. If people are interested, on our news page at the moment, there is a link to Gladys Berejiklian and the ICAC tapes. It's an investigation by Paul Farrell at 7:30 and is quite intensive looking into that story if people are interested. It does come with a warning, though. It does contain coarse language, so people have to watch.
People getting a bit angry
that,
and things.
Absolutely. So tough times for the former Premier there.
Yep.
In Townsville, the budget was brought down this week, and the Mayor saying that they were trying to keep rate rises as low as possible, still finding spending, including on anti-crime measures like boulders going into our parks and more of those. Was this a steady budget for the council?
I think so. No big surprises. It was a fairly... You've also got to remember that the way our system works is that local government is almost an extension of the state government. So we have your tiers of government, you have national and your state government, and then the local government. So it actually doesn't have a huge amount of power or for funds in order to make big decisions. So they're not able to do big infrastructure. It is, unfortunately, it's about making sure the potholes, as we've seen, if you've been down the Strand recently, they're fixing all the potholes, which is good, because if you take the corner too fast somewhere, there's a big pothole.
It's the roads, rates and rubbish thing, isn't it?
It is, basically, yeah. So they can do what they can. So rates is one, exactly, and that's been brought down. So no real big surprises. The only thing is, if you were playing politics, you might do a couple of big ticket items, because of course we've got a mayoral election and a council election coming up next March, but I don't think there's been anything. I mean, there's been a little bit of a spat in the chamber, as is the kind of norm these days, but it's really just doing its job.
Yeah, and it's a long way until, it's the end of June, and it's a long way until March.
Exactly. We'll probably see some other announcements later on, and we will, with that relationship between state and local councils, we'll probably see some announcements of more funding coming from state to local government for them to, enact. And there's lots of little things, there's lots of quirks. There's things like there's a pot of money that the state give just purely for reef activity. So things like promoting tourism or taking school trips out or going out to Orpheus, that kind of thing. So So that's where we might see some more funding.
That'd be nice to do today, wouldn't it?
That would be lovely. I went out to I went over to Maggie for the comedy night in the week, and it was just so still at sunset. It was beautiful.
And was the comedy good?
He was very good. Yes, yes. But I'm biased because my friend was one of the comics.
That's great. NAFA is happening. There's so much to enjoy, so much performance going on in Townsville at the moment. Performance of a very different kind in Russia last weekend. We were all scrambling to think, well, is this the takeover? Is Putin, seeing the way out? What was happening there? It all sort of calmed down in a way. Prigozhin going to Belarus, and it looked like everything had tempered down. But is this the end of the story, do you think?
I don't think it's the end of the story. If it was genuine, because you've always got to think about false flags, so, the people that are actually saying that you're attacking me are the ones that organise the attack. If it's genuine, what it does is it shows a really big gap in Putin's power, and also the fact that the Wagner Group, which are a mercenary group, which were officially, kind of unofficially, the sort of military mercenary arm, the SAS, if you like, of the Russian president. They have actually, the fact that they could get within 200 k's of Moscow is a real worry, because it means there's a weakness in the system. And if it's not them, it could be someone else.
And it was strange because the next day Prigozhin said, oh no, we were never intending to take Moscow. We just wanted to demonstrate how easily we could do something like this. That just seemed like a very strange excuse to give after that. Wouldn't you let people know beforehand if you were planning to do something like that?
I think it's kind of like poker. They're trying to get them to show their hand. They're sort of saying that we're not going to push it, but we just wanted to make a point. So there's a lot going on here, because obviously then he's disappeared, and now we were told he's in Belarus, but no one's actually seen him. There was a very strange response, but it was a drawing of him, was the picture put forward. So it seems to be a strategy around, if it's Wagner's doing it, it's really just to show, it's to show if I wanted to, I could, but I decided not to. Wow. And clearly him going to Belarus is sort of seen as saying, no, I won't, but doesn't mean that someone else won't in the future. What it does as well is it signals to the international community, the politics community, that there is a weakness. And there was lots of talk around civil war, and that effectively what it was, an attempt at, and a coup. So, what will happen now with Putin? Does it mean he's lost his kind of, his strength?
I did enjoy hearing international affairs expert Dr. Keith Suter speaking on overnights during the week, and he said that for Prigozhin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, he will have to just be very careful what he eats, what he wears from now on for the rest of his life, and also maybe not stand near any windows.
Yes.
Which I thought was extraordinary.
Yeah,
wow. If you're going to play that card, you want to make sure you get it right, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. And we've seen that with other people. Like, there's a documentary, isn't there, about, I can't pronounce it, Alex Navalny.
Yeah, Alexei Navalny,
and how they
which he is in prison. So, and he did get poisoned. So
in his underpants. So, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the doc.
Fascinating documentary. Won the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature earlier this year. It's just simply called Navalny and is well worth a look if you like international politics. Dr. Maxine Newlands, you love international politics, and you'll be back again next week to discuss more.
Thanks, Michael.